Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Wednesday night edition of the Chat Daddy Show. I am Chat Daddy. Glad to be here with you guys on another beautiful summer evening. It is Wednesday, July 22nd, 2020. I have another great show for your viewing and listening pleasure this evening. Tonight we have a lot to talk about. Chicago's very own, I meant to say. Rapper, fashion designer, philanthropist, Mr. Kanye West on July 4th made an announcement that he will be running for president. His name has actually been added to a few ballots, but now Kanye is having a meltdown. There's rumors that he and his wife possibly could be divorcing. As you guys all know, his wife is famed Kim Kardashian of the Kardashian family. So tonight we'll talk about that. And then later on in the show, we're going to pay homage to African-American talk show hosts, radio as well as television. And we're going to talk about the history of Blacks being talk show hosts and some of the most controversial moments of African-Americans as talk show hosts. And, this has always been a passion and dream of mine. And my co-host tonight it has always been a passion and dream of his as well, too. I consider him my brother from another mother. Whenever we're together, it's always a great time. Not only is it funny, but it's informative. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome back to I was getting ready to say another show, Chris. See there? Help me welcome back to the Real Chat Daddy Show. This time in the co-host seat, the one and only Mr. Chris Bass, better known as Boom Shakalaka. What up, man?
Boom Shakalaka, you have overcome, for I am here. Man, Chat Daddy, how you doing, brother?
I'm actually good, brother. I'm doing really well. Feel great. There's nothing like putting on a nice clean shirt and sitting down and do what you do. And as they say, present yourself to the world yet another day. But other than that, brother, I'm doing okay. I'm yet holding on. I am continuously wearing my mask, sanitizing, right, social distancing, and trying to enjoy the summer as best I can. How about you, brother?
Man, like I always say, I'm still walking the earth like Kane and Kung Fu. And for those of you people who don't know who Kane and Kung Fu is, Google it, and you'll find out for yourself, and you'll get the reference. It's always nice to be in God's favor, to walk the earth and see another day of happiness. I know a lot of us are going through very sad times of sorrow, but we woke up, and we woke up this morning. So it has to be something behind that. It's a greater force than us.
Yes, absolutely. I could not agree with you more. Bass, I'm so happy to have you here tonight. When you and I decided to do this show together, you said, you know what, Chad, we need to have a conversation about African Americans who are pioneers in the talk game, whether it's radio or television. There's something to be said about that. You and I both are huge fans of talk radio, TV talk shows, and things like that. And so I know later on we're going to talk about how we got into this. But Bass, you've been doing this quite a while. Tell everybody a little bit about your background and how you got started in talk radio.
Oh, well, thank you, Chad Daddy. I got started when I was 19 years old. Literally, I was at Columbia College, Chicago, as a radio major. And I listened to a gentleman, and we'll get into it down the road, a man who changed my life completely. His name was Ty Wansley. And Ty Wansley was doing a morning show on then WGCI AM. And I got up one morning, scratched, went to the bathroom, turned the dial on, just, down channel surfing. And there was this voice, calm, cool, collective, and could check somebody with certain intelligence that I'd never heard before. And I became hooked on talk radio ever since. At 19 years old, I pointed to the radio and said, I want to be that dude. I want to be Ty Wansley. And I got a chance to meet him. He became my guru, my Obi-Wan Kenobi. He showed me the way to do talk radio, became my friend and mentor. And I couldn't have asked for a better person to lead me into doing talk and news. And it's always great in any form of life, or walk of life, when you have someone to hold your hand or put their arms around you and show you the way, because they already know the way. And now you, as the young grasshopper, can learn from the best.
Oh, I love it. I really do. I can't wait till we have the conversation later on this evening about, people who have influenced us, what made us want to go into this. It's going to be a lot that we're going to cover tonight. So, Chris, how have you been coping through COVID-19 and this quarantine. You know, you and I are used to being in the same studio together. We enjoy that time together. We usually, you know, end up chitting and chatting after the show is over in the evenings. But how have you dealt with this whole stay in place and COVID-19?
Well, I personally call it the reset. It's a reset for all of us. The definition of reset depends really on you, your life, your personal life. We've all gone through a change. Everything we do now is from home. You shelter in place. I miss the human contact. I miss getting hugs, and I miss being around people. But for the sake of trying to control this pandemic, we have to follow orders. And some of us don't want to follow orders. It's not a matter of political football, because it's not political. Last I checked, it's just being about a human being trying to survive. And when you put in the politics involved, Chad Daddy, I mean, it gets murky. And I believe we're in the murky times right now, because it should be very simple. If you want to save your life, the life of others, then, for example, wear a mask and keep the distance, social distancing, and 6 feet apart, and things of that nature. If you just follow directions, we get a hold of this thing. But you know, you got people out here. We've now seen the numbers with millennials. They're hot. There was a story back during the summer, during spring break in Miami, and I have to quote the anchor from there. If I had a belt or a switch, I would beat all those hot ass teenagers to go back to the house.
I saw that. I did. But now, Chris, we got to keep in mind these teenagers are not the only ones hot asses either right now.
Well, that's true too.
I've seen a lot of adults out here not giving any kind of damn about having a mask on, about not social distancing. My good friend and I were in a store last weekend over in Indiana, and this gentleman was in there, and you know, and I know this is a poor joke, but we always, you know how we are. We always say, now that looked like walking Corona right there. He was just nasty, just, you know, no mask on, talking on his cell phone all loud, and you know, and I said he'd be the main person that, you know, would pass it to everybody just from not being sanitary and not doing the right thing. And we hightailed it out that store so quick, and we both had on masks, you know. So I don't know, you're right. There are some people that want to defy this and not believe that this is serious. And then there are people like ourselves who are like, look, I'm going to follow every precaution. I'm going to do what's necessary, what's right. Who knew we would have to wear masks? You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
Now, you say, listen, dude, color coordinate, make them match, you know, do whatever. We've got to make the best of this situation, because we've got to save ourselves and protect each other, you know. So
exactly. And I have to admire you, because you know, the late great comedian John Witherspoon put it into motion back when he did Boomerang. Coordinate. You know, coordinate, right? You know, that's with your mask, you know, matching your outfit, and that's all of us. We can survive this if we just put our minds to it. But for the ones who will be radical about it and rail against it, that's going to be a problem.
Well, brother, all I know is when I see, you know, so many masks in a pack and it's not that expensive, I know I wear a lot of different colors and things like that, I just grab them. You know, somebody may make them. People have gifted me quite a few masks. And the thing is that I want to protect myself. I want to protect others. And, you know, I went today for my grooming services. They were checking my temperature. They checked my temperature not only when I arrived, but my temperature before I sat for my service. So, I mean, you know, these extra precautions are here to help us all. And I just wish people would do the right things and protect themselves, because let me give everybody the latest Illinois update. Today, the state of Illinois announced 1,598 new known cases of COVID-19 or coronavirus. This is the highest number in the month of July so far. We've not had numbers like this since, I think, the beginning of June. There are places across the country where the numbers are steady rising again. Hospital ICU units are at their capacity. They're now shipping medical staff from states that are not affected as much now to these hot spots. And so, you know, I don't know, Chris, this is not the end of it. Yesterday, our president, number 45, Donald J. Trump, he did say that, you know, look like this is not going to be good for a minute, and believe it or not, he was the one that was saying, "Poof, it'll be gone." It's just a part of our imaginations or whatever. But again, we're looking at a pandemic that we do not know, where it has come from and what is really the source of transmission.
No, we don't. And when it's unknown and uncommon, we have to find a way to circumvent it and try to find a way to have a solution. And you just can't make it into, once again, I said earlier in the conversation about politics. It was a Democratic hoax, as the so-called president said. It's going to go away in the spring and summer, and the heat would take care of it and will go away. There's a televangelist named Kenneth Copeland who actually he blew COVID-19 away.
Yes,
I was like, dude, that's a good act.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
So, people are buying into what they want to buy into. I think that, again, when you look at the staggering deaths that we had in our nation, it should be an alarm. It should be a cause for alarm. It should give a person pause. And some people just hard-headed. They don't believe fat meat is greasy. And then when it happens to them, oh, it's real. Well, we try to tell you it's real before something happened to you or someone that you love.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that fat meat is greasy. I happen to have enjoyed several pieces of fat meat.
And great.
I do know it's greasy. I do. That's all I'm going to say on that. All right.
Okay, that's all right.
That's all we're going to say. We just leave it at that. See, you and I have such. We do. We really do. All right. Continuing on with our news this evening. Again, Chicago is number one on worldwide news when it comes to the crime and violence that is taking place in our city right now. Chicago is not the only city across the United States that is having a spike in summertime crime. But because of the nature of our crimes and we're Chicago, we do make worldwide news. Well, last night while we were on this show, 15 people were wounded in a shooting at a funeral home on the south side of Chicago. A person of interest is being interviewed by law enforcement, but there are multiple suspects, according to the police. And from what I understand, Chris, this was a funeral of a young man who was killed in a drive-by shooting, that the police had been warned that this was that type of funeral and that the police were there, but there was, they didn't do anything. And, I'm kind of torn on both sides of that. And I'm going to let you give your rebuttal and then we'll talk about it. But I just know this much. I am sick and tired of this SHIT. I'm sick of it. I really am. My anxiety is over the edge, because you just don't know. Today, I'm in the vehicle tootling along because, I tootle. And we're tootling along. Right. Police are steady behind us. How about get not far from where I live and somebody's been shot, again. And so that's where the police were tootling along to. And so, or they were flying along to as I was tootling. Mm-hmm. And so, brother, I'm just tired of it. I actually want to pack my stuff and move to a remote part of Alaska and just be the only person there. I don't know. What do you think about all this, Chris?
Well, it's I do believe in pure evil. And I said it before on many platforms and shows I've done over the years. This is pure evil. When you have someone, the gentleman was 31 years old, gang-related, gang-affiliated, and you're trying to just have a moment where you're trying to say goodbye. And then all of a sudden you hear shots ring out, people ducking, people dodging, people get hit. Was like 60 rounds or so plus of guns and shell cases. It's beyond sad. And when you're trying to at least raise children, or hell, like you said, just trying to survive as someone in this city, it does give you alert like, well, maybe, like you said, maybe I should think about leaving and packing up, going somewhere else, or how do I get out of it? And if you don't have the resources to move, you have to stick and stay. And then how do you survive from there? So again, when you watch the videotape, a surveillance tape of the people running, when they hear the shots, and then they show the aftermath of people laying down and the ambulance coming like that. I'm not to get down on the police. I'm just kind of curious of just having like one squad car or not too many police out there when they know that there are times when the city could escalate when it comes to gun violence. We get into later on about the children, the babies who have been killed in the streets because of gun violence. You can blame it on gangs. You can blame it on random people who have guns, like the Wild Wild West. Whatever it is, it needs to get control of. And we have to do it not only for the sake of ourselves as adults, but for the sake of our children. We don't have a future if they just keep getting shot and killed.
No. And then I'm hearing just so many theories that, a lot of this violence and activity is being plotted and planned. I've talked to a couple of people who are, to me, conspiracy theorists, but then I've also talked to a couple of people who have never really talked like that and have shared some things with me. And I would hate to believe that, all of this is being set up, or, one of the news stations today did a breakdown of, how many gangs, how many factions, the branches of all of that. And this has been around, Chris, ever since I was a teenager. I remember when people were starting to join gangs, and the neighborhood would change, and the person who you thought was the sweet boy on the block decided to join the gangs and all of that. And I just thank God that, my friends like that have always protected me and just always looked at me differently. And I'm grateful for that. But this is nothing new. This has been going on for many, many years. There are certain corners and areas in the city where, people being gunned down. There was a gentleman who said on Facebook last night, 79th and Carpenter, 79th and Racine. That's always been a corner, a hot corner. Mm-hmm. Ash, Halsted, any of those particular corners have always been hot like that. And this is just something that has been going on forever. These are now really the grandchildren and great grandchildren of a lot of the original, gang people, I think, or the original people that have been a problem. Again, I don't know. I'm just speculating a lot of this.
No, and your speculation is pretty much on point, Art. I mean, it's generational that we've seen throughout our neighborhoods. Like you, I grew up here in the South Side. I grew up in South Shore. And I remember back in the day, there was a guy I used to play basketball with, Ekersall Park. And every time basketball come up, we look for each other, then run 5-on-5. Guy name was Tank. And Tank was a little bit older than me. Tank, hey, young blood, you in them books? You staying in school? You all right? And Tank like 6'4" and 285 solid. And every time we talk, hey, stay away from them girls, man. It'll get you in trouble, man. Keep your nose in the books. Come to find out, down the road, that Tank was third in command of the Black Peace Stone Nations.
Oh yeah,
Tank never told about his gang affiliation whatsoever. Never.
No, Chris. That's funny you would say that. I too had a friend like that. That was good to me. Never any issues, any problems, any of that. One of the gang leaders ended up getting killed, and this young man moved into the high ranks, and he never ever brought that around, me or my family. Nothing ever happened to my family. People knew my dad. My dad kept a lot of these young men employed in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I get that. And I tell people, don't act like, I was immune to that. I just think that a lot of the guys knew I was different. A lot of the guys kept me around because I could read and write and count money. And so, whenever they would do something, and a lot of them, we grew up together. And again, you still at a third or fourth grade reading level. And I now, can read at a high school level, or whatever the case may be. So it's not that I'm not immune to that. It's just that I never wanted to really be a part of that. And I wanted to see the world, and I knew I was different. So you're right. It's amazing. I think if we talk to a lot of Black men who come from the hood and they chose not to be in the gang life, or the gang life did not choose them, they would probably share a similar story, just like what we just shared,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you got to start from somewhere. I mean, you wasn't always a gang member. You were a kid. I mean, most of the guys that I came up with in the neighborhood, riding big wheels and 10-speed bikes and stuff like that. We were kids, and then he just took a different route than I did and became gang members. I never judged them; they were still my friends, and we were still friends together. But like anybody else, we all have free will. If you want to join the gang, that's your decision, but the consequences. So I remember running to some of my friends. As a matter of fact, one of my friends was in prison. He went to prison. And he was protected by the gangs in prison. So he never, got raped or something like that. But they did tell him, while you're in here, get your GED, get an education. We don't want to see you here ever again. And he told me one time, I was in his cell, and he heard me on the radio. He heard me when I was back at WLS, and he said, "Man, damn," And then he told me that when he got out of prison. So you just never know how you connect with people. In fact, he went on to become a truck driver, got his life together. And again, you just never know. So everybody has a story to tell. And we need more positive stories of people getting their life together.
Yes. Well, Chris, that's funny. In my earlier years, I was a flight attendant and then again did it again. I would, be standing on the bus stop trying to get to the red line to connect to the blue line to get to O'Hare. And again, we talking about late 80s, early 90s. And, it was not uncommon for the guys to pick me up, run me to the L, and the reward for them was the little bottles of liquor. They thought them little bottles of liquor was the best thing ever. So a part of my, peace pipe or my peace treaty with my brothers in the hood, I'd bring them little liquor bottles or, souvenirs from wherever I traveled. They always thought it was so fascinating that I was able to leave the hood and go travel. And again, it all breaks down to, again, just years and years of poverty, years and years of just nothing has ever been better. I tell people I'm fortunate not to be still living in my mother's basement, strung out on drugs or in prison. But a lot of African-American men, this has been just the best that they could do because of a lot of circumstances that they've been in,
Correct.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't fight and get your way out of it. You have to want to be helped. A lot of us have some pride and don't want to help, but put their pride to the side. And because you can't do it by yourself. And when you genuinely want help, it will come to you. And I really believe that. I think that if a person want to get their life together, they can do it. It's not going to happen overnight. Nobody says it's going to be quick. It takes time. When you invest in time in yourself, you just might be surprised.
Yes, absolutely. I could not agree with you more on that. Well, our President Donald J. Trump, announced today the expansion of the federal law enforcement operation currently underway in Kansas City will now be extended to Chicago and Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I'm not going to lie, I had to clutch my pearls about Albuquerque, New Mexico. But then I do have a dear friend that had told me that Albuquerque, New Mexico was experiencing a lot of hot mess situations as well, too. And so Operation Legend, I think it is, will be taking effect here in Chicago. As you all know, this is operation for a 4-year-old who was killed when shots were fired into his Kansas City home as he slept. This involves agents from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, U.S. Marshals Service, Drug Enforcement Administration, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. And so seeing what happened in Portland, of course, our Mayor Laura Lightfoot is, really apprehensive, upset, would like for these agents to follow rules and things like that. But Chris, brother, I don't know. I'm torn. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I believe in having my behind in the house by a certain time. I don't believe in, stepping outside of the, law, to put myself in jeopardy or in harm's way. So I don't know. We keep saying, Lord, send us some help. Lord, send us some help. And so far, the Lord ain't got here yet. So I don't know. Maybe these law enforcement agents might help us. What do you think?
Yeah, that makes me upset. I don't want anything to do with the president or so-called president. He's been eyeballing Chicago for years. Let's go back to 2016. He was running for the presidency. So every time he would have discussions with the public or debates with Hillary Clinton, his go-to points from his playbook was always Crooked Hillary, Obama, and Chicago, in that order. And he's been eyeballing Chicago, as far as I'm concerned, for years to make Chicago a prime example of martial law. That's just my take on it. So when you have all this uptake and rise in violence, hey, that's all right. I'm the law and order president. I believe he believes NBC's Law and Order, but I can be different. So he wants to be a Law and Order president and wants to so-called put his orange foot down and make sure everybody's going to be rank and file. I'm concerned about that because, say, for example, and we will get deployed federal agents coming here to so-called help us quote unquote Operation Legend, that would give some of these people the right to shoot and kill. Now, I know conspiracy theories are out there, but with him in the office, it could be anything at this point. It's better we do it to ourselves, and then the government comes in, has the right to shoot us. Hey, you ain't been if the if the martial law is 7 p.m. and you walking around at 7:01, I'm gonna shoot you in the butt. You know what I'm saying? See, that type of stuff, it sounds so crazy, it just might happen.
But now, Base, I so hope that would not be the case. I hope that the voice of reason, I hope, if any of these agents have any morals and values, you would really try to find out why are people out. Because keep in mind, you and I are technically considered essential workers. Keep in mind all of our first responders. I mean, there are circumstances and situations where people do have to move around and be about. But I think in some of these hot spot areas and neighborhoods, unless you got a reason to prove that you need to be out on the streets, then you need to be in the house. You really, I mean, I don't know. And the sad part is I feel so bad for the people who are being held hostage in their own home. Keep in mind a pandemic. First of all, whoever would have thought this? Secondly, now you're being held hostage in your home because you're fearful of being shot, carjacked, just any other of the random acts of crime that we've had. And so I don't know. Again, send help, Lord, send help.
Yeah, and it's going to happen, and I'm sad that it's going to happen because of who's in the White House, and then once again the plans that he has. Let's not lose focus of this. All he wants to do is get back in the office. That's it. That's all. So whatever it's going to take, because you've seen he's changed his tune about COVID, about wearing a mask, about social distancing. He'll do whatever it takes and say whatever it takes to get reelected, including this. So when you have this situation going to happen here in Chicago, I don't really care for it. I get, as I say back in the day, I get the willies because it don't sound right. It don't smell right. Don't sound right.
Well, I mean, none of this smells and sounds right. And what I like about you and I, Chris, we kind of like sweet and sour. Let me kind of put this here, let me put that there, but here's the reality of it all. But we'll see how it all unfolds. Somebody just sent a message and said there was another funeral going on at the same time that funeral was going on. So only imagine you there to celebrate the life of Miss Hattie, 89 years old. Miss Hattie ain't never been in no foolishness like this. And now you all been shot up the funeral home. Because when I did hear, somebody 65 that got shot. Somebody told me today that a lady was just coming out of a convenience store right there and was a part of that yesterday. So just the recklessness of it all is what really just worries me to no end. I'm telling you, my anxiety is on 875 anytime I'm out of the house.
Well, add on a few more decimal points to that. You might as well round off to 1,000 at this point, Art, because it's going to get worse, unfortunately. And again, when you look at just trying to live, like I said before, just going to the store, terrorism is not only something that's physical, but it's also mental. The terrorism and attacks that happen, case in point, before all this, and you've heard it, and I heard it, most people in most neighborhoods heard it, all these firecrackers that was going on during that time. It sounded like Beirut. And it was going on and on and on and on. Again, it's psychological warfare. I believe, again, that someone else is out there trying to, if we have these bad neighborhoods to begin with, bad people in the neighborhoods, it's kind of like stirring the pot of the whole thing. Because if you live in fear, then whoever is starting to fear, they got you. They got you. So, but you have a right to be in fear, but what do you do from there? Do you not live in fear? Or they say, well, you know what? I want to claim my life back. I got to get out and do some things and once again be responsible when I'm outside. So it's a lot of layers that we're going through right now would make someone question their surroundings. I know I would.
Well, I tell you this much. I was at a party probably 12 years ago up in the North Shore. And there was somebody that was kind of talking at the party. It was a great mix of people. The people were all high end at the party. And this is way before, Lori Lightfoot. Who was the mayor then? Rahm Emanuel. Who was before? Rahm Emanuel.
Mm.
And this person told everybody at this party that if you were smart, buy up as much of South Chicago as you can, buy up as much of the South Side as you can, because it's all going to change. That the city is going to have to flip back over and go back to where it makes it easier for people to get around, commute. When you think about it, African Americans that live in the city of Chicago, inner city people, live in what's considered prime real estate, prime property. People like to walk and get on a train to go to work. They like to take public transportation. They like a quick and easy commute. Really, water is a selling point. Anywhere in the world that a lake or an ocean or whatever is bordering someplace, that's all considered prime real estate. And so where else would they be able to tap in this prime real estate other than South Shore? Other than, you get what I'm saying? And so this is way before an Obama library announcement. This is way before any of this. And I keep thinking about what that person said, that if you get any piece of property on the South Side, do what you can to increase the value of that property and try to hold on to it. And that's, what a lot of these folks are not even paying attention to, allowing their homes to be raggedy, out of date, dilapidated, delinquent in fees and fines and all of that. And again, you're going to look around and you're not going to be a part of the city limit equation. There's only so much fair housing that they can build.
No, you're absolutely correct. We have to be smarter than the average bear. That's when, I would definitely like to tell people we got to start looking into ownership. And, we're great consumers. We're on record as being great consumers. Imagine if we take those same numbers and become owners. It doesn't matter. I mean, I think the main thing is to show that we can control our own dollars, control our own communities. Unfortunately, we've been infiltrated by other people from other neighborhoods coming in and making money off of us. And then when that started to happen, when I started to see people across the counter that didn't look like me, even when I was a kid, it bothered me. And I know my parents said the same thing, in the household, listening to them. And it's not like, again, being anti anybody else, you're just pro your own. But then when you don't see yourself in, store ownership and things of that nature, again, you have to scratch your head like, what's really going on around here? What's really going on in America?
Absolutely. Well, we'll continue this debate and finish talking about this. All I know is that I love the city of Chicago. I'm born and raised here. Have had the fortune of serving in 3 different capacities as a public figure. I still can serve as one, but I'm just heartbroken that we are still talking about crime and violence in this city. And I remember being a teenager and the gang violence and the shootings, the break-ins, all of that, all is surrounding our own people. Not that this does not happen in any other communities, any other neighborhoods, but we are always the focal point of this type of situation. And I've had enough. I just, I talked, Father Michael Flager was on TV this evening, and he said he told a mother, get your sons and get out of Chicago. And I agree 100% as well too. I know a young lady that was from Detroit, loved her to no end, a mother on welfare, a bunch of children, the late 80s, early 90s, when Detroit was falling apart, same situation, just like Chicago. She took her children and moved to Anchorage, Alaska. And she said, listen, we did trains, planes, and automobiles. And she had 6 children. And she took them up there, started her life. She was like, look, welfare is everywhere in the United States. Section 8 is everywhere in the United States. Why not go and help my children to have a better life and to do something better? And believe it or not, all of her children have turned out to be extremely successful. One of them became a doctor. So, I mean, I think your environment plays a huge part in your success rate. And when you're living in the midst of gun violence, carjackings, anxiety, and stress, it does nothing for you but age you and will send you to a grave early.
And you're absolutely right. I commend your friend for doing that to save her children. And you think about it, the life expectancy on the street, if you're a child, is 15 sometimes, maybe lower. The way we're seeing it, I never forget, I was watching the news locally years back, And unfortunately, it was a 16-year-old boy who was shot and killed. His friend said on the news, I'll never forget, oh man, he made it. And the reporter's like, what do you mean he made it? 16, he made it. So think about it. You're an African-American boy, 16, you've made it? On street level? I mean, that's absurd. But
Foolish.
from where he came from, 16, he made it.
Well, all I know is we've got to do something better. And, you know, we've been talking about it. To me, I think it's a lot of lip service. Keep in mind, there's money in crime. Keep in mind that keeps a lot of the police employed, because you got to have technicians and detectives and investigators, and you keep in mind, okay? Nothing against any of our undertaker friends, but I've talked to several undertakers who have told me they've had it up to here with death. Keep in mind, global pandemic, and now a lot of crime, a lot of and deaths and murders and things like that. And I don't know. So I'm trying now to craft a series of conversations on this show next week and the following week that we really can sit down. And here's the deal. I'm not necessarily interested in talking to a lot of the community activists like that, because a lot of you all know who the hell these people are too. And I don't know why you not helping to turn these people in. And then I question the background of a lot of these people who now all of a sudden want to be activists extraordinaire. And nothing against any of them, but I really do question a lot of people's motives, because everyday regular people, we're sick of this. We're really sick of this.
Absolutely. And, you know, it has to start with us. It has to start with us individually to make change. If we go out and say something and talk to somebody, a family or friends, then maybe it could make a difference. And it's each one teach one mentality. And you just can't, you know, get to a point where you're fed up. We could be fed up, and I totally agree with that. But we talk to somebody, and maybe that message will start to spiral into a direction that can make change happen. I'll never forget one time a few summers ago, you know, of course, some of the certain younger people would, you know, rock their jeans down to their ankles. And so I never forget, I was going to the store, and I came out, and I was like, hey, it was like 5 of them. I said, let me ask you guys a question. Yeah, old head. Oh, old head.
Old head.
Old head. Right. I'm an old head. I was like,
you're right.
Let me tell you something, youngster. Do you know that culture came from prison, you know, with the sagging? What are you talking about, man? Well, from what I heard, when you're in prison and you sag your jeans like that, that means somebody can come back behind you and run up in you slow. Now, out of the 5, one of the young men pulled up his pants. And so my point was, at least it got to somebody. When he heard that, he was like, oh, I'm putting my pants up. So at least 1 out of the 5 heard it. So you never know how a message could be received by somebody. And then they'll take the same message and pass on to somebody else.
You know, I have a dear friend that she always tells the young men when she see them with their pants down like that. She says, son, listen, you can barely walk. You trying to run for the bus, you holding your pants, you cupping. She said, look, when you get older, you're going to have hip issues. You're going to have alignment problem, because now you're trying to walk and keep these pants up when these slacks were designed to hold your waist, grip your ass, whatever the case may be, and you walking around now with these pants down to your kneecaps trying to walk. It cracks me up to see these dudes trying to run for a bus or trying to do whatever and holding their pants. I don't get that. I hate when I leave home and don't have a damn belt on.
See? Exactly.
Right. So, you know, all of that is a bit too much. All right. So for those of you all that are just joining us, welcome to the Wednesday night edition of the Chat Daddy Show. I am your host, Chat Daddy. Glad to be here with you guys on a beautiful Wednesday evening. My co-host tonight is my brother from another mother, the one and only Mr. Chris Bates, better known as Boom Shakalaka. Chris is a legendary radio and media personality here in Chicago, and he's a great guy. Whenever we get together, we try to tell it like it is. This is how Chris and I talk on the phone or whenever we're in person, and we're glad that you guys are tuned in tonight. Do me a favor, go over to YouTube. Yep, go to YouTube, subscribe to the Real Chat Daddy Show. Does not cost you anything. I will not send you magazines in the mail. I will not knock on your door on Saturday mornings asking you, do you believe in me? None of that. If you just hit that subscribe button on YouTube, you'd be helping me tremendously so that this show is able to grow and I'm able to venture out and do other things. You can also go to Facebook and like the Real Chat Daddy Show on Facebook, easy and simple, as well as you can watch encore performances of the show on both pages, Facebook and YouTube. So just do that. Really easy, really simple. This is a free show that I do, effort of love, because I do want to keep people informed. I do want to keep you entertained. And I try to bring you some of the best guests and experts ever. And with that being said, I want to thank all of our guests last night. Boy, we had a wonderful show. Our co-host last night was Miss Leslie McKinney. She is the director of BWise, Black Women in Science and Engineering, here in Chicago. She did an outstanding job as our co-host last night. We also had on the show Javonda Lynn Dunnigan, and as you guys all know, she was my original co-host when this show first started. Javonda Lynn is a security educator, and she was here last night to talk to us about just staying safe, being careful. We have 10-year-olds carjacking people in Chicago, and I talked to somebody today that says that's happening in other cities as well. I think it's something behind all of that some damn 10-year-olds would be carjacking somebody. So that's a whole nother story. I digress for just a second. And then last night, we had to get our energy healed. And to help us to heal our energy was our good friend Marla Goldberg. She's a renowned energy healer and best-selling author. And she was here last night to talk about the importance of journaling as well as just keeping your energy level right. And that's what I've been trying to do during this pandemic, downturn in the economy and, anxiety on 8,000. So thank you to all of our guests last night. Bass, are you enjoying yourself so far?
Yes, I am, man.
Uh-oh.
It was great to, always great to talk and get our thoughts out because, man, it's a lot out here. A lot out here to go through, a lot out here to dissect. It's always great to be in your company, Doctor, always.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Cheers. Salute, my friend. I'm having sparkling water this evening. All right, so we're going to continue on in topics. Oh, very good. Brother, can you spare a dime? It seems as if the Federal Reserve is short on change. Convenience stores, grocers, and national retailers like Walgreens, Walmart, and other big box stores are asking customers to either pay with debit or credit, or they will not give you change back. Like, they might round it up because they are very short on change. And so this happened as a result of people not being out spending money during our shelter in place. Have you been someplace, Base, and they told you that they were short of change?
No, I haven't gone through that. I mean, I've seen the stories like you have. It just, again, calls for alarm. Again, we were looking at what they're trying to do with the monetary system. They've been trying to get everybody to get on one form of monetary for years. The euro was in conversation years ago. So who's to say that because what we're going through was a pandemic is to slide in certain things that they probably want to do years ago. Now they can do it now because everybody is trying to find answers. So it wouldn't surprise me a bit if they were to phase out the coins and phase out paper dollars and just use credit.
Well, they were saying that this again will affect the economically challenged. Oftentimes it's seniors or people in poor income areas that do not have bank accounts, that rely on currency exchanges. People much like myself who save all of my change. And so a lot of places are now offering incentives if you bring change in to give them to be able to use. Some places are offering you a free beverage and or a item like free French fries or whatever. If you bring change in, of course, they'll give you your money amount value, but they're, just to get more change coming in. So I don't know. That's interesting, but I am the person who uses his debit card for just about everything.
Right.
Rarely do I carry cash, and that's only because I don't want nobody clunking me upside my head. And so,
No.
I don't know. I just, and again, I ain't the person necessarily want to round it up all the time. If it is $22.29, I want my damn change. So, because then I feel like I done paid $23 for it. So I don't know.
Exactly.
Yes. All right. For all of you all that are unemployment recipients, the extra $600 a week in federal unemployment benefits will be expiring this weekend. After that, all jobless people will only be eligible for the regular state unemployment aid, which in Illinois is 47% of a person's regular wage, up to a maximum of $484 a week. And that's when you're on the high end. When you're on the low end, you may not be getting anything but maybe like $150, $160 a week.
Mm-hmm.
But, a lot of people, that extra $600, really did help them in many ways, where some people are still complaining, because here's the deal, Base.
Mm-hmm.
I am signed up for all kind of job services to send me emails about my particular field and what I do and what I specialize in. Bruh, I ain't got an email from them people since March 11th. Not a damn email.
Not one at all.
Not one at all. Not at all, bro. Not one.
Well, look, like anything else, when you look at the popular numbers rising when it comes to unemployment, things of that nature, it's through the roof. Nobody saw this coming. And we said earlier in the conversation when it came to COVID-19. So people, hey, I got to get money somehow. I got to support my family, support myself. And then it started to rise. And everything is sky high, because we're living in times where we're confused and we're trying to make sense out of something that could have obviously been taken care of had who in the White House stuck with the plan when it came to, because of his hatred for the former administration of President Obama. When you look at everything falls back to the government, they have to do that. But my thing is this: everybody needs it, but some money is always better than no money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you with that. But here's the deal, Base. If people don't have a way of supporting themselves, this crime is going to get out of hand even more, because you're going to have good people like me and you out here cracking people upside their heads if we don't have some kind of, you get what I'm saying? You are creating a monster. I look at places like Canada that gave their residents a stipend every month and will give them a stipend every month during this pandemic. I never did receive the stimulus check, and I know quite a few people who have never received the stimulus check. So, I don't know. It's interesting. Yes.
Yeah, I did receive my check, and like you said, you talked to other people, it's a 50-50. Some got it, some did not. And I talk about another second round of stimulus packages of checks. Again, it's a 50-50. So when you're trying to delegate something to the American people, to the citizens who do pay taxes or are trying out here and just live, when you're trying to make it easy, you have to find a way to make it streamlined and make it consistent. And so, again, other countries like Canada, which should be the prime example of what they're doing, it should be the one that others should be following examples of. But unfortunately, we're not going to have that, because going back to, the person in office. But when you look at the factor that people are just trying to survive, you are correct in your assessment, Art. It does create another environment. People do get desperate. They do get beside themselves, and they get scared. Completely scared, and they do things out of pocket, which that could really happen, and more rise in violence.
Right, exactly. And again, there are no jobs out here like that. Here lately, I've been riding in car services, to get around, and even the Lyft and Uber drivers. Now, people don't realize this. It takes almost 15 to 20 minutes for you to get a Lyft or Uber ride in Chicago. And these drivers are coming from all over, because a lot of those people did not go back to doing that. When the looting and rioting happened here in Chicago, quite a few of those drivers were attacked, carjacked, arrested. That never even really made the news. I'm not arrested, but carjacked and robbed and, things like that. And so, the young man was telling me, several of them have said to me, they said, listen, brother, it's not easy, and then they out here humping, and they said that actually they're making their money in the hood, because now most people in the hood, they're afraid to take the bus. They're afraid to congregate with quite a few people, with the social distancing thing. So for rideshare drivers, the hood is now how they're making their money, because of the lack of, people being, wanting to get on public transportation.
Absolutely. When you take away the ability of people to survive and make money, people are going to do a lot of things they've probably never done before. And that creates a whole different conversation, a whole different dynamic.
I know you're going to actually ask me later about what I would have done differently, right?
Right.
I know. Okay. All right. All right. So let's go to our last hot topic story of the evening. And then, see, the good part about this show, no commercials, and we can go as long as we want to. All right. So Chicago's very own Kanye West on July 4th announced that he is running for the presidency, 2020 presidency. He wants to run the United States. He then revealed that he was running under the birthday party, not Democratic, not Republican, not independent, but the birthday party. Right there, let me know something was not right there. That the elevator wasn't going all the way to the top.
Right.
Pence is announcing he has filed in, South Carolina. Unfortunately, he will not be on their ballot, but he did put his paperwork in. It was just released the other day that he will appear on the Illinois ballot. But I'm now more worried about his mental state of mind than anything else. Chris, can you bring us up to speed on this whole Kanye story and let this audience know what's going on with brother Kanye West?
Well, Kanye West had a presser, as they say, in the industry. He was trying to let everybody know that he was running for the presidency. This is on Sunday, and they're now in South Carolina, and he's talking to people about his personal life. He goes into the fact about his wife, Kim Kardashian West, and their first child, about he was upset that Kim was thinking about having an abortion and how he felt betrayed and upset, and it was wrong. And then he goes into other diatribes like Harriet Tubman did not free the slaves, which we all know, that's a lie, and he's not speaking the truth. And you saw him break down and cry. And these are just highlights or lowlights from the situation. And, a lot of people want to say that it goes back to Dr. Donde West, his mother, who passed away. It's a myriad of things he's going through. It's layers. It's a lot of layers, and mental illness should not be taken lightly. I understand the fact that he's an adult. They can't sign him into a hospital. Going back to what he said about trying to divorce his wife and everything else. The man has issues that really need to be taken care of. So I don't know if they're being ignored, or like Kim said, and paraphrasing, that we know he's bipolar. We try to give him help, and he's saying they're trying to go against him. So it would be interesting if he did listen to somebody. It don't have to be his wife at this point. Somebody he trusts. Somebody that would sit back and say, you know what, Kanye, man, we love you. Maybe we'll sit down and go over a few things and try to get your life together. Or maybe, you're running out of control. You don't see it, but we see it. We want to embrace you in love, and let's get you checked out. So if that happens, that will save the man's life. If not, let the sideshow begin, like he did on Sunday. And so we don't need a game changer. My favorite version of Kanye West was back in the day with College Dropout, with that CD and that timeline when he showed his true genius. And not say he doesn't have it now, but I still have to question what he's gone through past the time of his mother's passing, and then how he's comported himself afterwards. It has always been documented about these outbursts, about saying things out of pocket, about saying things that he should never have said. But when you are not taking medication, and when you're not getting the right help, this is what happens. So I'm sorry that he's going through this, because again, the man needs help. I mean, it's a cry for help. And I hope he will listen to somebody because that could save his life.
I couldn't agree with you more. As you guys all know, he's a manic. He's in manic phase of bipolar disorder. And again, if he's not on his medicine, if he's not doing the right things, I think Kanye has never ever healed from the death of his mother. Keep in mind, Dr. Donda West had cosmetic surgery and died from the complications of the cosmetic surgery. One would never think that. One would think, oh, mama going to have a little tummy tuck, her breast lifted, whatever. That woman ended up dying as a result of that. And you know, his relationship with his mom, the force that she had on him, he will never ever get over that. I still grapple with a lot of issues of the death of my own mother. So I can only imagine that. And most times boys have a hard time dealing with the death of their mothers because boys are drawn to their moms. So in his situation, he now is married to a conglomerate family. Keep in mind that his father-in-law was once decorated athlete who is now his what is he considered? His mother-in-law? No, his father-in-law that's now his child. I can't be offensive because I am a part of the LGBTQ community, but y'all get what I'm saying. I'm gonna say it like it is. Your father-in-law is now female, and so I'm sure that's a lot to do with it. I'm sure, you know, every man that has been around the Kardashians have been emasculated. Rob has finally lost all that weight and found his balls, and now, you know, he's trying to live a better life. So I don't know. It's a lot of pressure. Here's the deal. You can become rich and famous, but if your mentality does not dictate rich and famous, dude, I've lived rich and famous all my life, broke as a church mouse, but I always knew how to live right. You get what I'm saying? Where in Kanye's case, he is living that rich and famous life, and he may not know how to adjust himself to that. You know what I'm saying? He may not know how to act accordingly.
Correct. You're right. You know, it's a matter of comporting oneself and being a part of something that obviously that's your lifestyle. But, you know, the Kardashians are very strange. You know, they come off as very strange women. Like you said before, emasculating men. It got to the point where he emasculated Bruce so much that he became a woman. I mean, he can't get more emasculation than that. And you know, the whole thing, I mean, the whole thing is just—it's strange. It's like the Stepford Wives when it comes to black men in that family. That's kind of reminds me of, you know, a program that's cut them off by the balls and, you know, testicles and everything else and control them. Now that's just, you know, my take on the whole thing. Other people I talk to that actually know them had, you know, really on a personal level from businesses. But yeah, that whole thing with, you know, once again the death of his mother, Dr. West. Again, like you said, my dad, my mom is still alive, thank God, and I don't take it for granted every day. My dad, when he was alive, even then talked about the loss of his mother. I never met my grandmother, but even as a grown man, he said earlier about sons and to their mother, he always said, "I miss you. You don't know how fortunate you are, Chris, to have a mother." So I always heard that from my dad. So I get exactly what you're talking about. So when his mother passed away, everybody grieves differently. And some people may need some counseling, some help. And I don't think he got it. And once again, it's not too late for him to be saved. I just hope that somebody would come and help him before it's too late.
Right. Well, all I know is I'm very proud of him being from Chicago. I'm very proud of his success. But I just don't think that Kanye West is a good representative of what we, a country, the United States of America, stands for. And I get it. He may have an audience that, you know, love and adore him. But I need somebody to take control of this country, that knows how to run this country, that knows the ins and outs and all of that. I can just only imagine who his cabinet members, because quiet as it's kept, somebody told me that Caitlyn Jenner wanted to be the vice president if he did get elected. I think I saw that on TMZ. Yeah. And look, I want an African-American woman to get in there. I didn't even mind the fact that Pete Buttigieg had a husband, or, you know, a husband. But I just don't know if I'm ready for Caitlyn Jenner to be the vice vice president of the United States. Because again, all of it is just weird to me. And I know I may be changing as a person the older I get. I'm conservative in a lot of ways. People are surprised about that. But I just don't know if I'm ready for Kanye West and Caitlyn Jenner to run the United States of America. And I think a lot of people would stand with me in what I just said.
Hey, I go with you all the way. Hell nope. No, hell nope. No, we don't need that at all. No, not at all. We've seen the crazy train already with so-called president already. We don't need any more of that. You're right. It's about experience.
And I do not want my fellow LGBTQ plus family members to think that I'm being, I'm not. But the thing is I'm a realist, and I look at things for what they are. I look at the reality of things. Kanye West cannot handle a country, a United States of America. He just cannot. And Caitlyn Jenner, that's a whole nother thing. And again, we'll just leave it at that. Anything else we need to know about Kanye before we move on, brother?
Well, I really believe that what he's doing, probably unbeknownst to him, is splitting the vote. You always have somebody to come along in an independent party that splits the vote. We go back in time, and you're a person that likes politics. Let's go back to when Bill Clinton was running against George Bush 1, and a guy named Ross Perot, a businessman, came out of nowhere and just split the vote. And it went into favor more to Bill Clinton than old man Bush. This could happen here, even though it's a write-in vote. It's still the fact that it could sway votes. And I don't want that to happen, because if we're going by just trying to get him out of office, we need all the votes we can. We don't need any type of person coming in and just trying to ruin it or making it more difficult and diverging the vote that should go to whoever you're going to vote for. It's going to be Biden. Let it be for him. But don't come in and then put your hat in the ring to divide the vote. That's my main issue of all of this.
Very good. All right. Well, we'll see how this will all unfold. If nothing else, I really do want Mr. Kanye West to have his mental issues treated and the right things done. Saying throw him in an institution and all of that. No, it's a lot of people that need to be in the institution with him. I just want brother to be treated properly, get the help that he deserves. I don't know if him and Kim need to necessarily divorce or get rid of each other, because the way I look at it, birds of a feather flock together. But I can only imagine coming from the south side of Chicago to all that fame and success and money. And now, it's a beast to deal with. You know what I'm saying? So we wish him the best in everything that he does. But my personal opinion, no, bro, I don't need you to be president. And I don't need your ex-father-in-law, who is now your ex-father-in-law, who's now female,
right,
to be the president. I don't.
Hell nope.
Hell no. Okay. All right. Moving on. Coming up on the Thursday night edition of the Real Chat Daddy Show. Yay, that's me. Tomorrow night, actress and comedian Erica Watson will stop by, and Erica and I are going to have the uncle and auntie conversation about all this violence that's going on in Chicago. She and I both are, uncles and aunties. Some days I'm uncle, someday auntie, someday she's an uncle, someday she's an auntie. However that works, we're going to have a conversation about not having children, how this crime is running in this city, some of the things that we've heard. We keep our ears to the ground as far as what people are saying, so she'll be here to talk to us tomorrow night about that. And then Javonda Lynn last night mentioned that that she knew a wonderful attorney who could talk about your legal obligations pertaining to concealed carry. A lot of you all are flocking to concealed carry classes. You want to be able to get your firearm. I took the class at the beginning of the year, but there's a lot of obligations as you holding that concealed carry permit that you need to be aware of. So we have attorney Maria Barlow joining us tomorrow night, and she will give us the lowdown on your obligations of having that concealed carry. So if you guys have any questions, get the questions together tomorrow night. She'll be able to answer those questions as well too. So make sure you join us for the Thursday night edition of the Real Chat Daddy Show, and we'll be bringing Relationship Thursday back real soon. I know we've not had one in a while, but Relationship Thursday will be coming back. But tomorrow night, actress and comedian Erica Watson will join us so that we can have that uncle and auntie talk about what's going on in these streets. And then we'll meet attorney Barlow, who will talk about your legal obligations with your concealed carry. All right. Bass, have you enjoyed yourself so far?
I have, man. It's just like getting back on the bicycle and riding all over the place. Get on your bicycle, your bike, your even your trike, your motorcycle. You get back on the road again. And like I said before, you and I have a great chemistry that we always said. Look, man. I remember first time I was on your show when the studio was back at the other place on 87th Street, and I know you invited me, and I was very honored to be a part of it, and then to come back as a guest and a guest co-host. I told people before, I want to share it again with people out there. What Art does and what I do and other people do as hosts, we're very territorial of our programs. We create a brand, we create a rhythm for our show, and you just can't let any type of okey doke come on board and he or she starts talking and not really contributing to the program. And so as a host myself, for Art to say, come back as a guest co-host, that meant a lot to me, and it still does. Because when you're the host and you share the show with somebody that you really trust, that goes a long way.
You know what, brother? I appreciate you for that. But, I feel as if when I allow other people to stand in my sunshine and all of that, that's God's way of saying, brother, bless other people. Give to people. I never have been selfish like that. I believe it or not, I'm a team player. Most people find it very hard to believe that about me, but I love working with other people to create a great product. And this is not always about me. I could never do this show just me sitting here talking. I'm not that person. I've never been that person. So I believe in sharing my platform with somebody. Every time you and I talk is one of the best conversations ever, because I feel as if we are two Black men that really believe in, the improvement of people, being good to mankind and just doing a lot of different things. So no, I have no problem with that. I do not, never have, and never will, because one man may think he's a superstar, but it really does take other people to make them become a superstar.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right. Well, Bass, we're going to move on to our next conversation. And this is something that you and I have been excited to talk about. And we are actually going to talk about African-American radio and TV talk show hosts, something that people don't realize that, this was not something that Black folks did. And in recent decades, we've seen an upsurge in, not only Black radio talk show hosts, but TV talk show hosts. And so, Bass, I'm going to let you kind of control this. I'm going to let you run with this. I'm willing to talk about any and everything. And then I can even tell you who inspired me to want to be a talk show host. And the funniest thing is, this might throw a lot of you guys, because I'm sure people think it would be one person, but it's actually a couple of people who inspired me to do what I do. So go ahead, Bass, start us off.
Oh, well, thank you. As I said at the beginning of the show, I mentioned about a man who changed my life named Ty Wansley. At the time, Ty Wansley was doing mornings on a radio station here in Chicago, doing mornings, and he was there, then he moved to the station I heard him on, which was WGCI AM 1390 at the time. And he was doing morning from 5 to 9. And I heard him at 19 years old. I was a student at Columbia College, Chicago, majoring in radio. And I was going to be like a DJ like anybody else, play music. But how many DJs are out there? I mean, it's a gazillion out there, But when I heard Ty, my whole trajectory shifted. I listened to him intensely. I studied him. And this is only the first show. And I was like, man, this dude he's lights out fantastic. So I was able to get an internship at WGCI AM when I was still a student. And I met Ty for the first time. I met my hero. And we sat down and talked for 3 hours. Just meeting the man for the first time. And he changed my life. I knew before that at nighttime I wanted to be a talk show host, but to meet the man who made the change in me, and I had to study, obviously. I had to continue learning my craft, and I just wanted to be a talk show host. And so, and then to go from someone that I admire to work with him. I was his producer when he was at WLSAM Monday through Friday from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. And I would sit there, get the phone lines ready, get the commercial breaks ready, everything on the board ready. I sit back and I'll just watch him work. And I was like on the job training. And the man just so, once again, he was the 3 C's. He was C3, calm, cool, collective. And I just watch him work. I'm like, man, that mind is fantastic. Great personality, great observation skills, stellar newsman. And I love he interjected his personality because I was very fortunate to fill in for him years later at WGCI FM when they were airing the Steve Harvey Morning Show, and then at 1390 doing news. And just to see him work, and he's showing me around how to gather the news. And because on GCI FM during the Steve Harvey Morning Show, that was live, and the 1391 was pre-recorded. So he's showing me around there. And just the fact to watch him do the news and say his signature line was, today's weather, sunny with a high of 87. That's too hot, police.
Right. Yeah, he was known for the zingers. He was.
Oh man, I loved it. I hope that he realizes that the impact he has on me would be for the rest of my life. I cannot even think about being in talk shows where I am right now, not for Ty. And to get again to know him on a personal level, he became my personal Obi-Wan Kenobi. I couldn't have asked for a perfect mentor and teacher.
Yes. Well, many years ago, I actually ended up going to work over at GCI as an intern under Connie Lee Welch, who was Elroy Smith's. She was his assistant, his administrative assistant, the person who kept him on track, all of that. And that's how I got to find out about radio, how it all works. I knew back then that I was destined to be, behind the microphone. Actually, I wanted to do radio well before television because there's a certain magic to radio. You're able to go in, people not really know what you look like unless they know who you are. You be able to say what you want to say, do what you want to do, and move on. And so, but I never got the chance, never got the opportunity. Nobody ever, gave me whatever. I had even contacted, VON many years ago and asked for the opportunity and chance and was, shunned. And, but I always knew that talking to the public and informing the public was what I wanted to do, much like the town crier. Just, here's the news, here's what it is, here's the truth, y'all. Here's how it works. And never was given the opportunity. And, again, this was not my first career choice or calling. There were other things that I wanted to do. As we all know, I went into being a flight attendant, things like that. Once I figure out the dynamics of something and that it's really basic and simple, and that I figure out 1 million people fight their way for whatever it is, that's really not something for me. You know what I'm saying? I like something where I'm so unique that people think I'm special enough to be a part of what it is. And that's where my other things that I love found my uniqueness and my specialty. But because I was a traditionalist, getting a job and working for a major brand is what you were taught and told. But I found it all to be a bunch of BS.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Do you think talk radio for you, did it call to you or you called to it?
It called to me, and I'm going to tell you why. I have family that lives in New York, in Harlem. And actually, this family is my mother's cousins, but I call them my aunt and uncle because they were much older. And my uncle was known in Harlem for Little League baseball teams, to the point that his Little League baseball teams were award winning. And he actually introduced me to the late, great Mr. Hal Jackson. And as you guys all know, Hal Jackson was the first black man in radio. He was the man that changed the face of radio. He at one point was a play-by-play announcer, and then he went on to do talk shows. Well, my uncle in New York knew Hal Jackson, and when he took me to the station in New York to see what Hal Jackson did, I was like, man, this man know everybody and they damn mama, and everybody wanted to talk to him. And he just, it was almost like kids around an ice cream truck. And that's how everybody was about Hal Jackson. And I'm like, he the man. And all he does is talk to New York. And it was fascinating to me. And I probably was no more than 13, 14 years old. But ever since I was 8 or 9, I knew I wanted to be an entertainer. At 10 years old, I ended up on a kids program here in Chicago. So this is the life that I wanted. It's just, unfortunately, other people never saw fit to allow me what I wanted to do.
Why did they see you as unfit and then allow you to? Obviously, you have a talent. Why weren't you picked up?
I think a lot of had to do with my sexuality. I think a lot had to do with, very conservative times. I think that, it just depends. When the show 190 North was being developed, I had made it to the final round of being one of the people on 190 North.
I didn't know that.
I ended up not getting it. And so I've always been in the final running of whatever it is to be that talent or whatever that case may be. But it just has never happened. It just never did. And then, as it went on in years, it became situations of abusing me. I felt, not paying and not giving me my just due or whatever the case may be. And so, at this point, I do this as a labor of love because I do, again, want to still be the town crier and let people know what's going on. And so that's why I do what I do.
How did you personally, because as you know, we hear a lot of no's in our business, and particularly, no, you can't do that. No, you're not right for that. No, your voice ain't right and everything else. How do you go from hearing all those no's to find a way to overcome that? Oh, how did you do that personally?
Well, believe it or not, it's more of a situation of you've got to survive. So I've always learned to change and shift my energy in other directions. I had tried this many years ago and it didn't work. So guess what? Become a flight attendant, travel, see the world, meet other people. So that built my base of people. A lot of people say to me, Art, you have over 10,000 followers. I guarantee you all of my 10,000 followers, at some point I've met them or had an influence on them. Only in recent years of television and newspaper, and since social media has been popular, have I picked up new people as followers. But other than that, when people say this man knows people around the world, I know people around the world. And then before all of this wanting to be a star, I actually had other dreams and aspirations to do other things. I find the sex industry a fascinating industry. Before, at one point in time, I had a body that could sell. And so, I think exotic dancers, anytime I meet people, I met Heather Hunter, quite a few other adult entertainment stars. And I always revered those people because I'm like, look, I easily could go into doing something like that and call it a day and become famous. But no, I had to do the politically correct thing and try to continue to move forward. But no, look, bro, I tell people sex is the oldest book, trade in the book. And so I ain't far from, never mind. That was in my younger days.
Right.
I wouldn't. You catch me shimmying on a pole. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I was more burlesque, not stripper, but burlesque.
Burlesque, right? Not stripping, but burlesque.
Yeah, stripping is low class. Burlesque is right. But
were there any other influences with you as a broadcaster in general? We talk about African American people in radio and TV and the like. What were some of the people that you admired in the industry? Entertainment wise, that were African American?
Okay, so a lot of people would not know this, but this is absolute truth. The first Black person to have a talk show or a variety type of show, do you know who that person was, Base?
No, I don't.
You have no idea? Take a guess.
Locally or nationally?
Well, it was a syndicated talk show in the United States. And
Mm,
so, guess who it was?
guess. Talk show. Mm, I want to say Arsenio, but my mind says before Arsenio.
Nope, way before
Way
Arsenio.
before Arsenio, right?
Actually, singer, minister, author, all around great woman, the late great Della Reese was the first woman to host her own syndicated talk show here in the United States.
How you like that?
It was very historic. Della Reese would come out, do a monologue, and then she would interview comedians, and they'd bring the animals on the show. They would do all those things.
Okay.
Della Reese's show was never a full show. It was bits and pieces, almost like 15-minute increments between shows.
Right.
She actually did 197 episodes of the show, and the show ran from 1969 to 1970. But Della Reese was the first, so that was kind of who, I remember Della Reese being on television or doing these and interviewing people, and I'm thinking, wow, if she could do this, I can do this. And so Della Reese was really my first television person that I admired.
Man, I didn't know that. That's a great piece of history because Della Reese was fantastic. Her relationship with also with Red Fox was great. Whenever, for example, when they used to work together, if one of them got a gig at a nightclub, they recommend another person to open for them. So if Della got a gig to sing, she recommended Red to open up and do comedy, and it was vice versa. If he got a gig, he would recommend Della for opening up for singing. So they were really close for a lot of years. And when you go back and watch Harlem Nights, yeah, that type of chemistry comes in time. And when you have to appreciate people came before us, people who have paved the way, people who really were out there doing it in 3D. Like for me, from a broadcast perspective, one person comes to mind is the late great Ed Bradley on 60 Minutes.
Yeah,
Ed Bradley was, oh my God, that I went and got an earring because of Ed Bradley.
Well, Ed Bradley was the first man to wear a pierced ear on television. He was history making as well, too. Yes. That was unheard of for a man to be sitting up with a diamond stud in his ear. And so Ed Bradley, I'm with you. Ed Bradley, yes. Amen. Yes.
Yeah. I saw him. I was like, that dude is too cool. He's too cool, man. He's rocking the earring and everything else. I was like, man, I will get my earring. I will get my pierced too. So because of him, that was a straight influence. And to watch him work on 60 Minutes, 60 Minutes, certain people become kind of boring. But if you're a news guy like myself or news person, then you will watch it. It's tradition on Sunday evening. But something about Ed was the fact that Ed brought it. He made it cool to watch. He was just, his technique on interviewing a person. And as you know, this first time, your first when you do this for a while, and this art as a host yourself, to make the guest feel comfortable, that's a whole different thing altogether. You have to have it or you don't. And Ed Bradley made you feel like you were talking to an uncle, talking to a family member, and he had that smooth factor. So he was great. Also for me as a broadcaster, another Ed on BET, Ed Gordon. When Ed Gordon did the news, another Ed that was just, again, somebody that looked like me, that I wanted to strive to be like, just, again, well prepared. Ed Gordon could have easily done network television. I'm not sure of his background before BET, but he had that network look when he presented himself on BET News and did specials and interviews. Another person that I was like, man, they set the bar really, really high.
I agree with you on that as well, too. Other people, I used to admire Isabel Joseph Johnson. I used to admire Lou Palmer. I used to just anybody that was able to talk to people, anybody that was able to sit down. It's like, how do you know all of these people? And that's what fascinated me so much. I didn't realize there were producers and, PR people, pitch people. I used to just think, my God, these people sit down and talk to these people, know these people, and able to ask questions of these people. And I just think, my God, how great is that? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you remember do you remember when Oprah came to television?
Oh yeah, she was doing a local show called AM Chicago here in
Yes.
Chicago, 190 North State, and she was local until she cut the deal with King Feature syndication to become national. As a matter of fact, it's on record that it was with Roger Ebert, the movie critic, was the one who gave her the idea for the show not to be a half hour but an hour, and that way you get a chance to get more ancillary profits with the commercial time. So on a dinner discussion, he advised her to do that, and the rest is history. Oprah, when you transcend the the profession and become your own thing, which what Oprah has done over the years. It was like broadcasting, then Oprah. You become your own lane, and people like that are just again on a whole different stratosphere. She definitely was a game changer. Was able to bring in various audiences, and people may not realize, depending on how old you are, there was a guy before her named Phil Donahue, and
Yes.
Donahue would be
Yeah.
in this market too, but she ran Donahue out of town here in
Yes.
Chicago, and Donahue had to broadcast from New York. And then along the way, the Donahue crowd started to slip on a syndicated perspective, and Oprah's number went up. So it's just a matter of, the classic passing the torch. It was her time. And again, for her to have achieved what she has achieved, I mean, people should understand that when you put in hard work and you are the original personality, people gravitate towards that. You write it out. You make it do what it do.
Yes, you do. You really do. Chris, what I love more than anything, because not many Black men would want to say, I want to be a talk show host. You're right. Everybody wants to be a DJ. Even my time in radio here in Chicago, people's like, well, so-and-so is hiring for a DJ. I say, yeah, but they play music. I say, let me explain something to you. Most of the music they play, I don't like. I would not be able to talk about the artists that they play. I said, and it's just not my personality. I said, you sit me down in front of a microphone or in front of a camera, and you give me somebody with any sense of intelligentsia and give me what their background is. I'm going to have a wonderful time. I used to tell people all the time, you could sit a goddamn monkey down in front of me, and I'm going to make that monkey talk. I'm going to make that monkey, excuse my French, y'all, but I'm gonna make that monkey talk. You know what I'm saying? So talk has always been what I do. That's when I was named Chat Daddy, it was like, bruh, because you can talk and you know how to bring things out of people.
And that's a gift. It's a gift in time. You said earlier in the conversation about how you wanted to get in the radio, but it wasn't your time yet. You became a flight attendant, and that built the following. You were building your brand and probably didn't even know at the time. So by the time you hit the mic, it was ready for you to go. Yet all those people that you had influenced, or people that admired you, people that followed you, you were friends with these people, they were locked and ready to hear you, Chat Daddy, do your thing on the radio.
I hear from LA publicists now. I hear from people who have booked people on my show before, and a lot of them are not aware of what recently went down. And when I do talk to them, I said, well, unfortunately I'm not. And they said, listen, we don't care where it is. Our client needs the Chat Daddy experience. And that's what has renewed my faith. That's what has made me feel better about a lot of different things in life, that it's not about whose brand the product is featured on. It's the fact that people want the Chat Daddy experience. And that's what warms my heart more than anything. And, but otherwise, it's been an interesting journey. I've been saying I was going to write a book, and I said, you know what? My life is yet not over, and I don't want to write a book yet. But I do think I'm going to start a blog to be able to talk about just some of the things that have gone on. And maybe once people figure out what some things have happened and why and all of that, then that will probably inspire a bigger and greater book. But other than that, nope, I'm actually good. But this is something that I knew I wanted to do as a child. And the opportunities of people presenting themselves to show me the successful end of it always availed, but unfortunately nothing ever great happened from it.
Well, let me just embarrass Mr. Chat Daddy for a couple of seconds here. People out there checking us out. When, again, as a fellow broadcaster, when you watch somebody work and you have the inner workings, you're right in the studio, because I would be with Art when he invited me back over to his show back on WVON doing evenings. And to watch another person work and inject their personality and how they run the show and how they ask questions, it's a difference when you're actually there watching them work. I've always admired what you've always done because, if anything, you are the real deal. Some people create a persona, create a personality, and then when the lights are off, they're probably some mean assholes. But with you, you're not that. You're the same person off the microphone, off the TV set, and that says a lot. When you are a genuine personality, it goes a long way. People gravitate again towards that. And I've seen how you do with interviews. You're very understanding, you're very attentive. And again, as a fellow host, I know what you're going through. I know the inner workings. But when you do it to the point where it's almost effortlessly, that's a testimony to you. And once again, I just thank you over the time for inviting me, not only being a guest co-host, but allow me to look and watch you work.
Well, I appreciate you so much. Here's the deal. I did not come from this industry. I did not. And I've learned there's a lot of prejudice in this industry. There's a lot of, advocacy, a lot of, politics that go on with it. And that's not who I am. I feel as if I'm a talent, and a talent is there to deliver. And so I appreciate that. And again, I came into that blindly. I came into television blindly. I came into newspaper blindly. No other Black man would ever be able to say, I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago, and I've worked in newspaper, television, and radio in the #3 market in the country. And not any of those products or services thought I was good enough to invest any particular time in me, but they thought I was good enough to do what I did when I did it. So all of that is mind-blowing in many ways. So I understand Kanye's woes right now. Kanye is just on a wealthy end and married to wealth and all of that, but I can only imagine him being a Black man from the south side of Chicago, and all this has been a veil to him. And so it's a lot, but I love what I do. I've always loved what I do. I find people to be the most fascinating thing ever. I don't care who you are, what walk of life, whatever the case may be. And so, as God would make it be fit, he said, get out and do your own thing. And here's how it all works. And I just believe in, the Father will provide and make sure I don't fail at whatever it is that I do. And that's how it's always been.
Absolutely. I concur wholeheartedly.
Yes. What's next for you, Bass?
What's next for me is a couple of things. Like you, I want to go back to the drawing board, try to create some website where I can do blogging. I want to get back in the habit of that. I'm starting a new talk show coming up in August. I will release the date and time. A good friend of mine has an internet talk station, internet station. He plays music, but he will allow me to come on Saturday morning to do my talk show. So I'll have more information about that coming up. I'm still doing Baseline on Friday via Facebook Live, 4 p.m. Central. You come there and you free your mind. You free your coconut. Anything will type into the conversation, be a part of it. It's always a good deal to see everybody that come into the conversation and say how they really feel. And we have a good time. So I'm still doing that. And like you keep chapters open for the book of your life, for what's coming up next.
Yes, you got to. We live in a day and age now where, you continue to keep moving forward. You keep reinventing yourself. You do what you need to do to stay relevant. But this is a tough business. And what I've learned about radio and television, that certain people have been so enthroned in it that when misfortune happens, or they become ill, or they lose their jobs, they end up losing their minds. And when this was never what I set out to do anyway, I set out to be a celebrity, a superstar. And I felt the best way to do it was to have my city embrace and love me and all of that. And so I have to go with whatever it is. But I've also learned that we live in a society now where people are paying people to follow them. They're manipulating the numbers of how many people view and watch their show. They're using their finances to influence things and all that. And to me, that's not what journalism is all about. That's what that's not what they teach in major schools. And really, it's a form of bribery, the way I look at it. And unfortunately, it's just not the game I want to play. It's just not. It's I want to deliver beautiful information that will help people to grow and be better people, and not it's all about, as again on my radio show, there was never a politician on my radio show, right, because I didn't want to be beholding to anyone. Now that I'm doing this show, I welcome politicians. We had the fabulous Lieutenant Governor of the state of Illinois, Juliana Stratton, on this show. But as far as, I couldn't do that at any other places because it was about politics. And I don't, politics. And that's not the game I want to play. Not at all.
Well, you have to have the beat of your own drum, and when you do that, it's your rhythm, it's your time, and either people are going to be on board or they just have their own thing, obviously. But I think, again, when you're creating a show that you have done over the years, and same with me, what's different is that, I do my thing, you do your thing, and right, other people do their thing as well, and that's what gives a great variety. When I was coming up in talk radio, and again, you didn't find too many people like me or Ty or anybody else because, it was all white guys, and it still is all white guys and white women. But the fact that we wanted to be hosts just happened to be of a different hue, that happened to be black, and we claimed the black mantle. I remember, just real quick, working with Ty. So we were doing evenings, and I was his producer, like I said, Monday through Friday from 7 to 11. And he came in one evening and said, "Man, you won't believe this. They want me to co-host Morning Drive with Ed Verdoliak."
Wow.
You gotta be kidding me, man. We know he's about Fast Eddie Verdoliak. He was like, yeah. And Ty didn't want to do it at first because his black community card he felt would be revoked. And, the community that he built a reputation would be out the window for working with, Fast Eddie, Verdoliak. I said, dude, and not say my opinion didn't mean anything, but we did have a heart-to-heart before and after our show that evening. I said, dude, let me tell you something. Look, you're about to make history again. You take this job, you're going to be on, once again, the third largest market, doing talk radio, African-American man, PM drive, afternoon drive. Dude, you better take that. And we went back and forth on it, but I think he needed reassurance. If I go back and look at the whole thing, I think he needed reassurance. I just let him know, dude, do it. Later for these people. And, if they want to get on board, fine. If not, later for them. You got to do what's right for you and make history. And he did.
Yes. Well, like I said, I thank everyone for every opportunity I've ever had. I really do. Despite however the opportunities ended up panning out, it's been an experience that no other little black boy from the south side of Chicago can say that in the number 3 market in the country, I've done radio, television, and newspaper. Nobody can ever say that, and I can. And it is what it is. I do believe that God is in the blessing business. I don't think that, my life is over. I don't think this is the final say so or any of that. I am just appreciative of the number of people who continue to follow me. I probably get 10 to 20 messages a day. I found you, Chat Daddy. I'm so glad to, here you are, and, all of that stuff. And, everything is in divine order, but it took a global pandemic for me to realize my worth. And with that being said, it is what it is. And so I'm actually in a good place right now. This was a good conversation tonight. This is not a conversation I normally would have with my audience, but then I've also become more transparent with my audience. And I think that's what will help me to become a bigger and better brand,
You're absolutely correct. I mean, the fact that people love and admire you. You had a promo going on back in your days at VON. He knows everybody. And I'm like, God damn it, they right. He knows everybody. So when everybody is embracing you with big arms, you take the squeeze. You take the hug because it could be different. There's nothing wrong with being embraced and embracing others in return.
Yes. Well, I love that. And with that being said, Bass, tell all these beautiful people how they can find you, follow you, do all those great things. You guys check him out on Friday night. My brother's a smart man. He does not compete against me. Ha! No, he does Friday nights, 4:00. I love it. I tell people, I love y'all. I love y'all. You come to the show from 7 to 8:30, I'm gonna whoop everybody.
That's
But
right.
he does have a wonderful show on Friday evenings. Base, tell everybody how they can connect with you.
Oh, well, thank you, Chad Daddy. The best way to contact me is, so of course, get on there on Facebook Live, become friends with me, tell 5 of your friends and about 4 of your enemies, and let them know that Baseline will be in the air every Friday at 4 p.m. Central Time. We get a chance to free our minds. Whatever is inside your cranium, you type into the conversation, and we go back and forth. I can't do without you, and we're just going to learn and have some fun.
I love it. Hey, Base, before we run off, how do we build more people to follow us? The beautiful thing that I love about this is that I'll look and I'll say, oh, not that many people. Then I'll go back and, 400 and 500 people have watched the show at one time. Is there any particular secret to building that audience? You've been doing this for quite a while, and I look up to you for just, the legacy that you've built. Is there a magic to trying to build an audience up?
Hell nope. There's no magic whatsoever. I think the main thing is to maintain, put your work out there, see what happens. I do believe in old-fashioned word of mouth. Somebody will see your show. Hey, man, Chat Daddy was on there. He got his braids didn't take care of. He's tight. Man, he was talking about a couple of things, on the show. And word of mouth still goes around. So I do believe in that. So when people check you out, they'll check somebody out, like the old commercial back in the day. They tell 2 friends, and then they tell 2 friends, and then so on and so on and so on. Right? I really believe that really is the emphasis of building one's brand. Just people who appreciate and want to share that experience with somebody else.
Yes, very good. All right. Well, we've come to the conclusion of the Wednesday night show. It's been an outstanding show tonight. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow, actress and comedian Erica Watson will be here. And she and I are going to have the auntie and uncle conversation about what we think is going on with all this damn crime in Chicago and other cities across the country. And then we'll meet a wonderful attorney who will talk about your legal obligations with conceal and carry. A lot of y'all running to take these classes, but I'm telling you, depending on how Pookie fall in your house, baby, you might end up in a hot mess situation. That's why I was like, let me figure this out before I continue to move forward. So we'll have an attorney talk to us tomorrow night. On behalf of my co-host, my brother from another mother, the incredible Mr. Chris Bass, Boom Shakalaka. You guys support him on Fridays at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. What's the name of the show again, Bass?
It's called Baseline with Chris Bass.
Baseline with Chris Bass. Chris, you made me feel good tonight. I've appreciated you just being here. You always allow me to express myself. It's very seldom do I get to talk about my life on my platform, and I appreciate you for that. I always have, and you're a great guy. And what I love more than anything, 2 Black men that love talk formats. We love talk formats. You know what I'm saying? Whether TV, radio, whatever. I love a talk format. I just do. I think it's the best thing ever. So, all right.
It's in our DNA. We got to keep it moving.
It is. Black men from the south side of Chicago that want to talk and inform.
That's right.
Do me a favor, you guys. Before you go to bed tonight, please go to YouTube, subscribe to The Real Chat Daddy Show. It's free. I won't mail magazines to you. I won't do anything, to harm you. Your firstborn, I may take as hostage if you don't hurry up and subscribe to that page. After hearing tonight's show, you should really see why I really do want to have my own platform and do what's right. But that's all about influence in this day and age and how much money you have and who you can impress and all of that great stuff. I'm doing it the old-fashioned way by building your support. So please go to YouTube, subscribe to The Real Chat Daddy Show. Go over to Facebook, The Real Chat Daddy Show, like that page. And if you guys could just start watch parties, just share this. Make sure other people watch this show every night. Free advice, great people, the best experts ever. And this show is all about love, happiness, and good energy. For more information about me, please go to therealchatdaddy.com, therealchatdaddy.com. You can find out whatever you need to know about me. Marguerite wants us to keep talking, Bass. You'll have to come back. You'll have to come back, Bass. You'll have to. They want us to keep talking. Chris got that bass. Oh, boy.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much.
How long have you had that voice like that?
Oh, man. When I was 14, really quick story. my English
Now
teacher
look,
called up.
ain't no other show coming on after this, bro. We can
Oh,
talk for
good.
too long.
Okay,
Look, I
good.
got the
They want to
premium
keep talking
package on
anyway.
there.
So all right.
Right, I got the premium package. Right, I ain't
Okay,
getting the little 20-minute show. I got the premium. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So what happened was, we was about 13, 14, my voice started to change, and I was in high school, and my English teacher, Miss Randall, was going to call my parents to let them know that I wasn't doing well in class. So she calls up. This is when we had, land-based phones in the house. I got home in time. My parents weren't home yet. I picked up the phone and pretended to be my dad. So she calls up, excuse me, am I speaking to Mr. I'm speaking, yes. Well, hello, I'm Christopher's English teacher here at Kenwood. I want to say that Christopher sometimes, he can really be, he looks out the window, he kind of laughed days ago. He's smart, doesn't apply himself. Well, Miss Randall, first of all, let me apologize for Christopher's behavior. I want to let you know that he knows better. He has not been here yet, but when he gets home, I promise you, I will let Christopher know that he should shape up or he ships out. My wife and me don't play that. We will have to kick him out of the house if he behaves this way more. I'll let you know that if he ever acts up again, please call me at this number, this time, and I will take care of it. Oh, well, thank you, Mr. Bates. I really appreciate it and everything else. So the next day I go into in class. I talked to your father yesterday. He really wants you to shape up. Yes, Miss Randall, I'm sorry. So I knew then that I was onto something because I imitated my dad, and my dad's voice was deeper than mine. If I can get him down pat, then I'm onto something. Man, at one point, man, my voice used to crack up and down. I was a cross between James Earl Jones and Pee Wee Herman. It wasn't good luck.
My God.
Yeah.
Well, how I knew I had a powerful voice. First of all, Art Norman was the first person that ever used to always say, shout out to Art Norman. He would always say, listen to that voice, listen to that voice. Mm-hmm. But when I was a flight attendant, people loved my voice. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard, flight whatever, right. Nonstop service to New York's LaGuardia Airport. And people would be giving me their business cards, and hey, and all of that. And then in my latter years, when I joined another airline, I became the king of red eyes. And one day, this flight attendant, she was the lead flight attendant. She would always say to me, Art, the red eyes, everybody would be asleep. You put a movie on, whatever. She would always make me do the announcements to wake everybody up, when it was time to land or whatever. So I'd be like, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Captain and blah, 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 we'd like to let you know we're starting our approach into Chicago. And if you do need to get up and go to the lavatory, please do so. And people used to be like, dang, who is that? And so I never thought my voice had power like that, and so just amazing that, my voice is what it is. Again, I told you I wanted to be a sex worker.
Well, yeah, as you know firsthand, it's an instrument. We got to take care of it.
Right.
It's what we do. We have to exercise it. Like now, I still drink, my hot tea with lemon, and I got that tie. As a matter of fact, that was a holdover. He said, "Man, will keep your voice in shape. Drink hot tea with lemon." And I got that from him. So, holdover is for people again that in my life who I deeply love and admire. And then one day, I said before about Ty Wansley, he was my Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then one day, you turn around and you become Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's when that's what it's like. It gets kind of deep because I look over both shoulders. I'm like, you can't talk about me. I mean, I can't be that type of guy. But over the years, when I've had students, I taught talk radio. As a matter of fact, to share this, I went back to my alma mater at Columbia College, Chicago, to be an instructor to teach radio. In my second year, I, along with a lady named Cheryl Morton Langston, we were tapped to rewrite the talk radio curriculum at Columbia.
Oh, okay.
So that was a highlight in high part of my life because I never thought, never I tell my students, never say never. I never thought that the chairperson, Barbara Calabrese, would let me know and Cheryl know that we could rewrite the whole thing. So we rewrote the whole curriculum and we co-taught together. And to me, again, that was a great time. And to fast forward, recently in the past year or going to last year when I came back to teach at Illinois Media School, to teach talk radio. I already had the format, just a matter of updating it here and there, and I was able to teach again. Because of COVID, everything stopped. I taught at Illinois Media School for 10 months, teaching talk radio. Again, feeling relevant, getting a chance to teach a generation about talk radio, and a lot of them have embraced it because they want to brand themselves and be in the business. That really means a lot to me. The fact that I'm able to give back. And so when you have moments like that, you cherish it for what it is.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I cherish everything that has ever happened to me. Really, this whole pandemic has allowed me to sit down and go through boxes and find things and reflect on a lot of things. And you're right. I've cherished every moment that has ever happened to me. But in this pivot, now more than ever, I'm ready to move on to something greater. And I've learned that Chicago is a lot of crabs in the barrel.
Yeah.
A lot of hatred, a lot of, if you don't belong to the clique and if you don't belong to the group, then you have no value and no worth. And so now more than ever, I want to extend myself into other realms of people, circumstances, and situations, if that makes sense. I've kind of done the Chicago thing and I think it's cute, but now what I do, I can do this from anywhere. This studio can instantly change in a moment's notice.
Well, when you become big time, don't forget us little people.
Oh, man, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I can never forget you. You helped me to make my show. You helped to do what you do, and you became my friend. So that would never happen. That would never happen. But trust and believe, I know all the player haters by first name. I do.
Yeah.
You know my Bentley. You saw me in the Bentley Saturday, and what happened?
Sure did. That's a damn good looking Bentley.
You saw what happened with the Bentley Saturday, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Right. Folks thought I had rented it. Folks thought that I had went out here and bought a Bentley.
Yeah.
No, I have very wealthy friends, ladies and gentlemen. And my wealthy friends allow me to live and play and do exactly like they do. And I'm just grateful to God. But for as many of you all that congratulated me on having a Bentley, I had as many that was calling that was player haters too. Yeah. And so, I didn't want y'all to report me to the man. I didn't want y'all to tell, look, honey, I'm too old to be going to jail. So, what I'm saying? I'm too pretty. Right. So, I had to come clean. Like, listen, my friends blessed me many years ago after one of my cancer treatments. I said, you know what? One day I want to own a Bentley. I don't want to be anybody's chauffeur. I want to own a Bentley. And a friend of mine who owns a Bentley said, guess what, boo? You've been through a lot lately. You've had a lot of trauma. Come on, let's go ride in the Bentley. And here's the deal. It's a big ass car. Where would I park a Bentley? I live in the hood. So where would I park? Y'all already carjacking people for Lexuses and Mercedes Benz. So child, why would I put myself in that situation? And then just to have a headlight replaced on that car is damn near $1 million. So
exactly.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that I am able to drive a Bentley and it's, there if I need to. But the thing is that no, I do not own a Bentley. Okay. Player haters.
All the time.
Player haters. Yes, player hater. That's right. You need to be congratulators, not player haters.
That's right.
All right, Bass, have we set it all straight? Is it anything else we need to cover? I think we got everybody. I think we covered it all in this show tonight.
we covered a lot, Doctor. There's always been.
Did we cover it all? Yes.
We covered it all, man. That's no more to say or do because it's done and said.
All right. Give them your website again or give them how they can follow your show again. Go right ahead, bro.
Thanks again. So catch me on Facebook. Type in Chris Bass, C-H-R-B as in C-H-R-I-S, B as in broadcasting, A-S-E. I'm the brown guy with glasses. I'm very good looking. Make sure you come on board with that. We'll become Facebook friends. And then that way you get notifications of when you catch my show, Baseline. And that's every Friday, 4 p.m. Central Time. Right there on Facebook Live, and you come on board and you get a chance to interact as we free our minds. When you free your mind, your yes will follow.
You know what? I was wondering if that was the response to that. You know what I'm saying? And because if not, I was going to create a show that was like, well, Bass does a show that's free your mind, and I want to do a show for people who need their asses to follow. So that that's the whole. You know what I'm saying? A lot of y'all need your asses to follow. Right.
True.
Right. So we're in a pandemic right now. So yeah, keep thy ass to thyself.
That's right.
Yes. Well, on behalf of my co-host tonight, the amazing Mr. Chris Bass, Mr. Boom Shakalaka, and yours truly, Chat Daddy. Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. I just love and adore you all. TheRealChatDaddy.com is how you can find out more information about me. Please go over to YouTube, subscribe to The Real Chat Daddy Show there, Facebook, The Real Chat Daddy Show. I'll see you guys tomorrow night for the Thursday night edition of The Real Chat Daddy Show. And tomorrow starts the 2-day mourning of my dear friend and sister, Judith Hartfield. And I'm not going to cancel tomorrow night because I do want to do my show after I go and pay my respects to her tomorrow at her visitation. And on Friday, I'll be at her homegoing service. But I love you guys so very much. Thank you so much. Bass, they said another great show. We're getting all this a round of applause. They love us. They do. All right.
Love you more.
Love you guys. Have a great night. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye. All right. Let me do this, Bass. Hold on.